My brothers, my brothers, my brothers, it is your boy Joseph Roberts here, and I am inviting you to join me at the Men Hurt 2 conference being held here in Dallas on July 19th, 2025. We got an awesome lineup of speakers. There's going to be food, there's going to be music, there's going to be door prizes, just a host of activities that are going on exclusively designed and set up just for the men. We don't oftentimes have these safe spaces for us to chop it up and fellowship with one another. But on that day, July 19th here in Dallas, we are going to be doing just that. And to any ladies that are tuning in right now to this video, if you got some special men in your life, whether it's your husband, your son, your brother, your nephew, your grandson, I don't care who he is. If you know that he needs to be a part of something like this, get him registered too. Simply go to Eventbrite today to get yourself registered and get your ticket. Give somebody a ticket. We look forward to seeing you.
Rho Alpha Tau East Texas Chapter, rhoalphatau.com, His Work, Our Hands, Christ and Community.
Thank you for tuning in. A live stream new episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show will be starting soon. With your host, minister, and author Stephanie M. Seaton. If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemseatontheauthor@gmail.com.
Well, hello, and welcome
Hi.
to another amazing episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. Welcome. Well, tonight we have an amazing guest with us. We had the pleasure of meeting at an event that I hosted a couple of months ago in Arlington, and very happy that she was able to come out. We had several authors at the event. Her name is Davina Jackson, but her author and her pen name is author RJ Mquintosh. Can y'all welcome her to the stage tonight?
Hi.
I guess I shouldn't say stage, but studio, right? Welcome. Very happy to have you here tonight. I know this is going to be a very interesting conversation. You've got several writings and poetry, some books. So we're going to dive in and talk about all things RJ Mquintosh tonight. Are you excited?
I'm excited.
All right. Very good. So I've got to kick it off by asking you the very popular question that I ask all my guests when we first get started. Please tell the viewing audience, who is RJ Mquintosh?
So RJ Mquintosh is first a author, and she is someone who has found her way back. Because I think I was always RJ Mquintosh in there, but I kind of lost her, and so she's found her way back. But along with that, Davina is RJ. RJ is Davina, and Davina is someone. She is a friend. She is a sister. She is a daughter. She is a wife. And I'm not married, but I feel like I have to put that in there as a part of my identity, because I feel like even at a young age, I always knew that I just wasn't just the girl who is around. I am a wife, and I feel I can now put more identity to it, but I think I've always been that way based on the choices I made, or and how I felt about certain things. So I would say that definitely Davina is God's child. I think I've always rocked with Jesus. I've always,
I love it.
even when I was doing wrong, even when I was imperfect, I was always rocking with Jesus. And so I think that is like the foundation of who I am. Because even when I feel at my worst, I always tap into him. And so that is number one of my identity. That's who I am.
I love it.
Child of God. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And you know what? That the fact that we love Jesus, that we believe in Jesus, that we have accepted Jesus into our hearts, we are imperfectly perfect. We are doing things that he knew we would do already,
Yeah.
But thanks be to grace and mercy that he provides for us, and new mercies that he gives us every day. And I can't stop talking about this, but that's one of the things I love most about the Lord is he doesn't throw you away. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what you're going through, what you came out of, or whatever. He does not throw you away. We may walk away, but he never walks away from us. And so that is one of the profound things about my salvation is how he chased me, how he did not give up on me, even when I pushed him away.
Yes.
And I did not want to surrender. So I am so grateful for that. And then you said you are a wife. I love it because I have said many times, and I'm single, I'm divorced. And I have said many times, I'm still a wife. And what I mean by that is whether I have a husband or not, I'm a wife.
Yes.
I that's who I am. I was nurtured and raised in the Lord to be a wife. And so, I'm in waiting for my husband, but even without one, I'm still a wife. It doesn't take me from who I am, even in my singleness. And so I get that, totally get it. Love it, love it, love it. Well, listen, we're off to a good start, Ms. Davina. We're off to a good start.
Yeah.
So let me kind of tell a little bit about you. So Ms. Davina, and I'm gonna go back and forth. Let me tell you all that are watching, I'm gonna go back and forth between RJ Mquintosh, which is her pen name, and Davina, okay? Because I've been talking to her as Davina, okay? So we all know who we're talking about, okay? But she is a romance novelist. I actually have 2 of her books that I was able to acquire at the event that we had a couple months ago, and she'll be speaking about those books here in just a moment. She began writing poetry at the age of 10. And then poetry remained her first love. Most recently, she followed her heart to begin writing novels. And I aspire to write, a longer, more substance novel. I've written 1 novel so far. And well, actually 2. I've written 2 novels, but when I saw your novels, I'm like, I'm gonna get there one day. And it takes time. It takes time. But I think it's amazing that you have set yourself in this position that you took it from the love of poetry and you developed this thing and you allowed yourself to be free. And I know we were kind of talking a little bit, and it just so happened at the event. I am a woman of God. My brand is Christianity. I talk Jesus all day, every day. And we were having a conversation, and she was like, "Now my books, my stuff."
I gave you the warning label.
She was like, "Now listen, because Jesus. In my books." My books got some stuff in them. And I was like, I said, what? And she was like, well, listen.
They're for grown folks.
Yeah, but you know what? We are grown people. I have children. I've been married. Life is life. And this is the thing. Writing and still being a Christian author doesn't mean that you can't tell different aspects of real life. Because Christians have real lives. They have real marriages, real divorces, and do adult things. And it's all in how you present it, and we all still end up or need to end up at the cross, right?
Right.
And so I totally get it. And I was just like, no, I'll take the books. And it's okay. It's okay.
I didn't want to shock you.
I said, you can still be on the podcast. I'm not worried about what's in your
books, and she's gonna be like, oh. That's what I thought. I was like, let me just warn her and let her know these are mature.
Yeah. So I will say this: I have not read the book, but I do still have the books.
Okay.
For me, it's an honor to get books. When I am gifted books from other authors, it is an honor to me. You know,
Yeah.
I don't take it for granted. This is something you have had blood, sweat, and tears over, you know, and it takes a while to the books that you gave me. Those are not some little, no, you know, and I have them over here in my memoir, but I'm grateful. I'm grateful for those books. And so, you know, one day I may actually get the chance to dive in and close my eye a little bit like this and read. But no, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. And I'm grateful that, you know, you're here today to talk about your journey in your life, because that's important. I'm kind of stepping and branching out a little bit. I wrote my first Christian romance book. I'm actually contemplating writing a series, RJ. I've never done that before. And in the series, the women are going to have some drama in their lives. I'm going to make it real. You know, I'm going to make it real and relevant on how much they actually need Jesus because of the stuff that's in their life. And so my desire is to actually turn it into a sitcom one day. So it's got to be real and relatable, right?
Yeah.
And so that's something that I've got on the list for myself to work on. But no judgments here, honey. I have lived and still living. And, you know, like I said, grace and mercy covers everything. All that matters is that we continually stay in his presence. And that's what it's about. When we continually stay in his presence, we don't have time to be worried about other people in that sense.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to get in and stay in for ourselves, you know. And then I tell people all the time, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual in the sense that I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And that personal relationship with Jesus Christ doesn't let me judge you or anybody else. I'm too busy trying to keep myself right.
Exactly. This is a full-time job.
It's full-time, because I be having some thoughts, okay? And I be wanting to say some stuff, okay?
Yeah.
But God, you know, managing myself is my full-time job, you know. But I thought that was very important that I make mention of that, you know, too often we're too, as you say, churchy, religious, and things of that sort. And Jesus Christ is not religious.
Yeah.
He's relational. He loves people. He loves relationships.
Yes.
And so, you know, we've kind of taken that out of context of what we're supposed to be like. And so I want to say that right up front with my chest, as they say, with my chest, that, you know, I definitely am grateful for your work that you are doing. And it is a blessing, and it's going to bless somebody's life. You know, the whole point of it is the storyline, the purpose, the point, the meaning. Yeah. And sometimes it has to be packaged differently to reach people right where they are. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think it's always the heart behind the thing that's being produced. As you said, I always say I'm not religious, and not always, because I feel like I was religious because I grew up in a religious home.
I was too. Yeah.
So I definitely was religious. Oh my God, I was religious, and it wasn't making me happy because I could feel that I wasn't being my true authentic self. I could feel it my whole life. I could feel it. And even though I grew up in the church, and I grew up in the apostolic church, they are strict. They are, but you're taught certain lessons in life too that I would never trade. So while I'm not religious, and while I do see the negative aspects, I don't hit out at the church in any way, because they have taught me valuable lessons in life that I know will take me through, and that I know that has kept me. But I'm not religious. I am spiritual, and I am all about my relationship with God. I'm all about my intimacy with God.
There you go. I love that intimacy.
Yes. And so, and I can tell you a story. I was 8 years old. This is where I've always said this is where my walk started with God. I got baptized at 13, but I was 8 years old. And I would always see my mom praying and stuff. Really didn't mean anything to me. Prayer didn't mean anything to me. God didn't mean anything to me. But I was 8 years old. And I remember starting a middle school. And I saw a boy in middle school that I just liked him. He was cute to me and I liked him. And I remember I went home and I was in my room and I was looking through the window and I started talking to God about the boy. Yeah. And that was my first experience where it wasn't my parents, it wasn't at church. It was just me sitting down and I was talking to God about this boy. And I was like, oh God, I hope he likes me. And I talked there for hours, me and God, about this boy. And that was my first experience. And why it was so important to me and significant was all the other times it was other people, my parents, pray over your dinner. This was me initiating to God. And from that day on, that would be how I would talk to him about even the things that you don't want to talk to him about, the things that you don't want to reveal to him. That solidified my relationship with me and God. And so I was always about my intimacy with him. How that I would be naked before him. If I can't be before him I would be naked before him.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
That has always been how me and God related.
Let me say this for the record. I love that intimacy with God, naked before God, surrendering completely to God, all of that, because the thing is, the Lord knows us. He already knows all of our details. And so we have to be, open and transparent. And let me say this for the record. I love relationship, with Christ, because that's real. When I say religion versus relationship, what I mean is there are churches that are actually open in the name of the Lord, and there are Christians and they are walking in the call, and people's souls are being fed and people have personal relationships. But we also have to look at the fact that there are churches where it is idol worship. The pastors are the leaders and the heads of the church, and Christ is not involved. No. It's ritualistic. And what I mean by religious rituals is people go in on Sundays and Wednesdays and they come out the same. They're living the same way before. there's no conviction. There's no transformation. And, there's more dictatorship, ruling, and even forms of witchcraft in the four walls, which is a bondage. So when you give more account to your pastor than you do to the Lord, that is a problem. And that is what I'm talking about when I say religion. Okay. And I, so I want for all of you that are watching, she's bashing. No, I'm not bashing the church. I'm being very clear. The real church, the real believers of Christ, you can't be bashed because you're doing the work. I'm talking about the ritualistic occult churches that are saying Christian, but Jesus is not there. That's what I'm talking about. So I want to be clear about that. But as we go on in our conversation, Miss Davina, I just can't talk about it enough. Intimacy, relationship with God. And that is what draws us. That is what, once you have that encounter with the Lord, where you get to the point you can talk to him about any and everything, that's when he trusts you the most with that intimacy. That's when he begins to talk to you even more, because he knows that the depth of that, that intimacy. Yeah. And, once you get in that place, that's where transformation happens and conviction. So you have written 4 novels so far. Yes. You published 2 of them that I know of. Have you published another one since we talked?
I haven't published another one. For some reason, I like to put out 2 at a time, and so I'm finishing up a series of 2. And even though 1 is finished, I'm gonna wait and finish the second one.
Until you finish the second one, okay? Yeah. And so you'll be publishing those. Yeah. And can you tell us like the storyline or what they're going to be about or that?
So it's still the genre of romance, and I like to put contemporary on it because I feel like I feel like it's not just romance. Contemporary meaning it's modern, and it's more of a mature type of reading. So it's contemporary romance, and this one takes me into basically more of a Caribbean feel because I'm Jamaican. And so it's gonna have some Jamaican characters in there. And just have a lot of humor because I like to write books with humor. I love to laugh. I love to laugh. I love a good laugh. I always say, if I see a naked man running through church, I would laugh at that. I love to laugh.
Let's hope not, though.
Some people don't get my humor because I laugh at anything.
But that's good to be able to laugh.
And I've always been like that, which kind of makes you stick out at like a sore thumb in certain churches because they don't like to laugh. But I laugh. Yeah. And so I like my books to have humor. And I also definitely want to publish my poetry book because it's written. I don't know what I'm waiting for. I'm going to do it.
Okay.
It is fully written. And I really do need to publish it. So those are upcoming for me to publish those 2 romance books, to publish my poetry book, and also a memoir.
Okay. A memoir. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, what will that look like? Let me tell you. So I actually am working right now on my memoir. I'm putting the final touches on it. I've actually, I have an author copy behind me. I kind of did that just so I could kind of see and kind of get some feedback, but it's still in the works at the same time. It kind of challenged me because, it's so easy to write about characters, right?
Yeah.
You can easily tell all the characters' business and what they've got going on, but in a memoir, you got to tell your stuff. And you're kind of like, well, I want to touch on this, but not really this. And is that something that you have thought about as to why maybe you haven't started on that project? Was that a thought?
So that I believe that is a part of the reason. But the main reason I know exactly why I didn't is because I guess when I first started writing, which is pretty recent, when I first started writing, I decided that I was going to follow this long dream that I had thought was buried and dead. And when God woke it back up into me, and I was like, okay, let me start writing. Right. The first thing I wanted to write, the first thing that was just pulling me was my romance book, because I had always wanted to write romance, always, from a little kid, but I never got the permission. I never got any, I didn't have the permission, period. I was never going to get it in religion. I just wasn't.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Permission from who? Because you're free in the Lord. So
right,
who are you waiting to get permission from?
Right. But when you are a staple in the church that you grew up in, you are a staple. I had been in that church since I was 7 years old. Yeah. So I grew up in that church. My little sister was the first baby to be baptized in that church. I mean, you are the staple of the church. Everybody knows you. Your family's the staple. They do not do romance. Yeah. They just don't. They can't even equate what you're talking about.
I'm about to say something that's sarcastic and at the same time very real. So let me guess, your apostle, your bishop, your pastor, they told you that God didn't tell them that.
Right. Exactly.
And so therefore you couldn't write the book because the Lord didn't tell them, right?
No.
Yeah, I got you.
Because even when I was a teenager and you would go to choir rehearsal, while I was waiting around for everybody to get, I would be reading. I would be reading one of my authors that I love to read. And I would get the looks, and I would get the talk to pulled aside. You shouldn't be reading those. And so it became such a thing that I just went ahead and the way I was talked to, because I, even from a little kid, I really love the Lord. I really do. I'm not just saying it. I really, from a kid, just love the Lord. I wanted to serve him. And so in the way that they put it to me, if you're reading that, you don't really love God. If you're reading that, you're not serving him. That's a sin. And so I put it away because I wanted to serve God. And the people that I trusted was telling me, well, that's wrong what you're doing. Right. So I followed their lead. And so even within my family, they weren't as judgmental in my family, but still they grew up the same way I grew up. So they're like, you don't need that. You need to go read your Bible. You need to go read your Bible. And so slowly it chipped away at that desire and that passion and that need and that internal truth that is in me. It slowly just chipped it away until I just buried it. I buried it. I wouldn't say that, but I did. I put it away because everyone around me was like, that's not what you need to be doing. Yeah. And so when I picked it up again, I had to start out from where I left off. In order to heal that little girl in me that always said, you're going to write a romance novel and you're going to write in a pseudonym. I always said I was going to write in a pseudonym. It just sounded cool to me as a kid. You're going to write in a pseudonym, you're going to write in a name, and you're going to write great romance novels. And so I picked up where I left off. And so as I began to write, more started coming out. And I'm like, I don't think I'm ever just gonna write romance. I feel like I'm gonna go into different genres. I feel like I'm gonna do all type of different things in writing, but I had to start with romance because that's where I
freedom in writing, isn't it?
Oh God, that was therapeutic. Yes, it was so therapeutic. It was so healing. And then when I would write stuff, I'd be like, wait a minute, I can write.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. I was like, and then it made me, I was like, I almost put away my dream, not realizing. And so it made me even go harder, because as you know, as a publisher, publishing is not easy. It's not like, I'm just going to be a writer. It is not easy. It is work. Yeah. And I continue to do the work and love the work sometimes as tedious as it is, because I love this. And I'm like, this is my dream. It's amazing.
I think to myself now, and everything happens in the Lord's timing, but I do think to myself now, man, I wish I'd gotten started sooner.
Yeah.
But the Lord had a plan, and I probably wouldn't appreciate it as much if I had started sooner, because I wasn't, the person who he needed me to be. And kind of like you, I used to write poetry in middle school and high school, and I used to write songs. My songs were whack. My poetry was good, but my songs were whack. And my sister, she could not stand my songs because I was making her sing back up. But then life happened, and when life happened, kind of like you, I put my poetry and my love for writing on the side, and because life was lifing. But that's the kind of God that we serve, that even when life is lifing, with the church life, with personal life, or whatever, he brings those things back around and he refreshes us in them. And, he doesn't lose any time with us. We're even more developed in what he's given us. And so that's the beauty of writing. So kind of tell me a little bit about if you were to dive into the world of children's books, what would that look like? Would you write about your childhood? What would you actually kind of branch out about?
Oh, I really feel like when I start writing children's book, I'm going to start out in fantasy. Okay. I want children to dream. That would be what I would want for them to hold on to their imagination and their dreaming, and they're out of the box thinking. You know, kids think out of the box. They dream things, the way they play. And I would want to foster that in kids, in just dreaming, in you know, books about them flying and things like that, to nurture that dream, and so that they don't lose their essence of their innocence and childhood. And they can just keep that going even into maturity. Because I think even as adults, we stop dreaming. We stop believing in, you know, the magic of what life can be, because there is magic in it, and there is so much. There's so much wealth and good things in the world. But we get into adulthood and things start happening, and we kind of miss it. And if I could just get children to continue dreaming into the terrible teenage years, to hold on to their imagination, that anything is possible for me, that's what I would want for my children's book.
I love it. I love it. Just filtering more creativity. And you're right. When life happens and when life is lifing, we get sidetracked and we settle a lot of times. We just settle that this is how it's supposed to be. And that the reality is that the Lord, his plans for us are so much bigger than what we can dream or want for ourselves. And I'm walking in that. I'm living in that now. And I'm just like, you know, it's like once the Lord opens your eyes to his vision, you know, not what we see, but to his vision, it's just like, wow. It's almost like you've had this big blindfold on. No, it's like you've had this blindfold on for all your life. And then all of a sudden the sun shines in and you're like,
what?
It just happened. But
absolutely.
We just have to not beat ourselves up, but be grateful that he allows us to take the blinders off, you know, because it's all him. It's all of him, to take the blinders off and to allow us to see how much more and how much bigger his plans are. So I know you're grateful that the opportunity to write, you're lighting up when you talk about it. I know this is your passion because you are lighting up. You're just, you know, you're radiating happiness, talking about your writing and everything. So I know that this has been a blessing for you. Tell me a little bit about what part faith and family has played in your life.
I think for me, faith and family, I had a very faithful like mother and grandmother, just praying women. Like my mom is a strong individual. And so I think she, even without her teaching me that, she portrayed it so well, and she portrayed her Christianity so well also. I would say that, you know, for my mom, in the part where I would say where she may not have fed my creativity and my writing, it wasn't because she didn't want to, it was because she didn't know how to. So I definitely give my mom grace on that. She just, you know, some parents, they see their kid can play basketball, and so they're going to put them in everything basketball. And my mom, she did what she could do from what she knew how to do. And from our Jamaican background that we have, and the time that she grew up in, it was all about, we're going to make sure we survive. I'm going to make sure you have everything you need. So her thinking about creativity and your passion and your talent, she couldn't equate that. She is making sure that we are okay.
I get you.
Know?
I get you. Yeah.
And so
I think that's beautiful how you said that. You know, you're giving your mom the grace that she did the best job that she could with the things that were the most important. And that's amazing, that grace that you're showing. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when she portrayed her Christianity, it wasn't from a place of judgment, to the point where my mom, she was grown up in real strict apostolic, but when she came to America and she got her master's degree, she worked with you know, the LGBT community. And people used to wonder, how are you working with and she was like, God loves everybody.
Yes,
That was my mom.
Yeah.
So she, even though she grew up that way, her heart was always so kind towards everyone.
Yeah.
And so I watched her, and that definitely, played a part in my life. Like, my mom is, because I saw the opposite of that in other people who grew up like her, and so I was like, wow. One of the best lessons my mom ever taught me, and I always remember it. I remember we were at church, and we used to fellowship with a church that would come down from Canada, and we would go over to Canada. And so when they come down, the shopping, because we used to live in New York, the shopping in New York was better. And so when they come down, they would do a lot of shopping because New York shopping is phenomenal. And so my mom had just bought, because in our church we wear church hats, and my mom had just bought one of the a really pretty hat, and they're expensive. They're not cheap. And one of the Canadians came, and they were like, "Oh, Sister Lawrence, that hat is beautiful. Can I have it?" And she took it off her head and she gave it. And I was like, "Mom, why'd you give her your hat? You just bought that hat. Why did you give her the hat?" And she said, "When you're going to give a gift to somebody, you give them the best that you have."
Wow. That's beautiful.
And that is the epitome of who my mom is. Wow. She gives the best. To the point where I was like, I don't want to be like you, because you just give away all your stuff and people just run all over. I hated that. I did growing up. I hated that. I was like, Mom, what are you doing? But that was her. And that was what she passed on to me, is kindness and to give your best. If you're going to give something, give your best.
Yeah.
And so that to me, with my dad and my siblings, that to me, we were just always a close-knit family. We fought like any other family. We were going to fight, and and my mom is a disciplinarian. So there was no gentle parenting. Yeah. Disciplined, and she's Jamaican. No, so it was a very disciplined home, and like certain things that was just not going to be allowed. And when I was young, I was like, my mom is so hard on me. And then when I got to adulthood, I was like, thank God my mom was so hard on me. Thank God, because it saved me from a lot of stuff, and it taught me certain disciplines about myself as a woman that is I find so necessary. Like, I find that it's so needed. And so my family life, when I was young, I complained, and now as an adult, I'm like, oh no, they were fantastic.
Yeah, that is a blessing. Listen, I have really thoroughly enjoyed talking to you tonight. I'm so glad we got this opportunity. Tell us the title of your 2 published books, and tell us where they can find your books.
So my 2 published books are Brenton and Rene, and it can be found on Amazon and Book Baby and Hoopla and all the ebook reading sites. And the other one, which it's a series, is a 2-brother series, and the other one is called Eric and Fiona, and it also can be found on all the major platforms in ebook form. And if you want to buy it, also the book form is there, the paperback.
Okay, paperback and ebook, correct? Okay, and I have on the screen her website. So to get in contact with her, no matter what time you watch this interview, you'll be able to look into the comment section and see the link to her website. So make sure that you check her out on her website. Again, I'm putting in the link right now. Again, no matter when you see this interview, you'll be able to have this information. This is the name of both of her books that are published. Stay tuned for more amazing books that she just disclosed with us tonight. She's got 2 more books in the works. And then she's also going to be looking at doing a memoir as well as some children's books. Listen, I'm going to close out with 3 words, and I want you to tell me which one of the words stands out the most and tell us why. Okay. Healing, empowerment, or transformation?
Oh, that's a hard choice. I would say transformation. I would say transformation, because that is where I think I was reborn a few years ago to get to where I am at my happiest in my life. Is God took me and he transformed me. And the scripture that he gave me was, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah.
And so that scripture, when he gave that to me, it started my life into a whole new way that is it's unbelievable to me where I was to where I am now in a few short years. When and it was my decision, because I think I cried out to him. I was like, will it always be this way? And his answer was to transform my life, because I was like, if it's always going to be this way, I don't want this life. And so he changed it. Wow.
That is amazing. I heard you say this transformation took place a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost 3 years ago for me that I came into real relationship, real surrender. How many years ago was it for you? I'm just curious.
This started in 2017.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're saying is that, and through the power of the Holy Spirit, there can be change, drastic change.
Yes.
Like the life that you have known all your life in one encounter with the Lord can be changed and can be shifted. I have been ministering and telling people about, the encounter that I had with the Lord almost 3 years ago that shifted everything for me. And I tell that every chance I get, and I'm happy to hear you say, and speak on this same thing, because our God is a God of relationship, and he is a God that fathers us independently, individually and independently. And, he loves us in spite of. And so hear people talk about the new found relationship and revelation of who he really is. I love it. I love it. I love it. Because so often we think that that's just how it is, and we have to settle and we have to accept things, but we really don't.
Yeah.
We just have to pray that the Lord opens our eyes and helps us to begin that transformation process. So thank you so much for being here tonight. It has been amazing talking to you, and hope to talk to you again soon. Make sure you let me know when you're ready to publish those books, and we can get you back on so you can talk about your new books and what else you've got going on. Okay, lady?
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in tonight to another amazing episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. It has been a pleasure being here with you tonight. Don't forget, we've got My Brother's Keeper podcast coming up here in just a few minutes. So make sure that you tune in to My Brother's Keeper. Thank you again, Miss Davina. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye-bye.
If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemseatontheauthor@gmail.com.